Good morning. Lots of good smiling faces today. Lots of, spring hitting, lots of new outfits everybody's got on. Visitors. It's a great day to study. Everybody warm enough? I'm going to turn this heat down just a little bit. It's not that the lesson's going to make you that hot or anything. It's just, I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. Matter of fact, we're going to have a little bit of fun this morning. We got a good crowd, so I'm going to give us a little bit more volume this morning, so you don't have to worry about the children crying. That is no problem. I can turn this thing up and preach across the street if need to. Boy, we got a good crowd. That is very encouraging to me. You know, we often talk about, and just every time I hear it, it just warms my soul, about our little ones. You know, and, oh, you got him asleep already. Well, you want me to turn this back down? Okay. But, man, you know, we are certainly blessed with little kids here, and we mention that very often. So this morning, I'm going to move the age up a little bit to talk about, okay? And we're going to have a little bit of fun with it this morning, kind of kicking off a short series of lessons. I don't know if it'll be 2 or 3. But in moving the ages up, I want to do a little something different this morning. We talk about the little ones all the time, but, you know, when I look out from here, I see some mighty good teenagers that are here this morning studying with us. So let's hear it for the teenagers this morning. We haven't forgot you guys. You're not running around up here running around the podium up here, but we haven't forgot you. And this lesson this morning is going to be to you. Well, how about our engaged this morning? We can talk about Drew all we want to. He ain't here. So if anybody's got any good thoughts on Drew, this is a good day to give them to her, okay, while they're still just engaged. We're going to talk about that in this series of lessons too. So let's hear it for our engaged this morning. You guys are doing great. Well, now this one may be pushing a little, but you know, I'm getting on up there in years too, so I still call them our young adults. Okay? And I think I call them that because they were the ones that were in the young adult class downstairs for the first time. But our young adults are still young adults to me. And these have gone out. Some of them have established homes. Some of them have had children. Made us grandparents. Made some of us great-grandparents. So let's hear it for our young adults this morning. Y'all are doing great too. And this series of lessons is going to be for y'all too. So don't think that I turned the microphone up because this is going to be for our older people that came here. This is for you, and it's your kids that caused me to turn the microphone up, okay? And that's great. We are so proud of all of y'all. You know, I get up every morning, and I look at my living room, and I've got toys on the floor again. Can you imagine that? Here I am, I've got toys on the floor again, and they ain't mine. They're Teddy's. But it is a wonderful thing to look around and to see those toys on the floor. So over the next few lessons, we're going to create what I call a roadmap of the lives of our young people at these stages of life. And we're going to shed some light on these stages of life from the knowledge that God can give us from His written Word. The Bible refers to these stages in many different ways, really, but I would have to say the number one way that it refers to these stages is seasons. The seasons of life. And that's what we're going to talk about this morning. And I'm going to call the stages marriage preparations, marriage, parenting, and then, of course, we have grandparenting and great-grandparenting going on. But I'm not going to talk in this series about the the grandparenting and the great-grandparenting, I figure y'all's a lost cause anyway. So, no, that's not it at all. We'll pick up on that sometime, but we're going to mostly focus on the 3 stages here that I mentioned. You know, my goal in this family series is to target what I will call the first 3 seasons. Okay? A little different than what we normally think of as our seasons. And that is what I call the preparation season. The preparation for the family. Well, that actually starts when you're single, doesn't it? It goes back a little further than, do we have the money to have a child? It goes back a little further than that. It goes back before you're even married. And then the second one I call the marriage season. And then the parenting season. Now, I want you all to understand that I'm giving the lesson up here. But I want each and every one of you to, in your time, to give these young people your wisdom. Man, it's a hard enough world to get out here and fight on your own. And I know the old thought that man has in his mind, hey, we had to do it, y'all got to do it too. Well, give them some help. Give them some help. Give them some knowledge so maybe they can avoid some of the mistakes we make. Hey, on occasion we took the right road. And let's tell them about it so they will take the right road and avoid some of the hardships. Now, I know how youthful thinking is. Yes, it's been a little while since I would consider myself a youth, but my brain is still functioning good enough that I can remember back to what youthful thought was. And this would be the thought I would have in my head when somebody was standing in a pulpit or standing outside, wherever it may be, trying to give me any kind of advice, any kind of warning about what to look for. My thought would be, what do you know about it? You know, and I'd probably about half listen. Now, being from Matthews, I probably would have added the words, what do you know about it, old man? You know, well, I'm going to be serious for just a minute in a joking way. Or joke maybe a little bit in a serious way, whichever way you want. I'm going to give you my qualifications, okay? I'm going to give this for the young people, all right? Because when I'm up here and I'm telling you something, and I turn in the Bible, you all listen up. That's good. That's good because that's God speaking when I'm talking out of the Bible. But occasionally in this, I may give you Scott's idea. Or something Laura said to get us back on track or something. So I'm going to give you my qualifications. And you know what? They're not far, you young people, from a lot of the older people here. But I'm going to give you mine. So here they are. 41 years of marriage. I have raised 2 Christian children. 41 years of marriage. That's 14,965 days and nights. That's a lot of nights, ain't it? 14,965 days and nights. Of that 14,965 nights, we spent a total of just 38 nights apart. You ready for that, Annie? 38 nights apart of 14,965 nights and days together. Kind of breaking out in a sweat as I think about that. 41 years of marriage also includes 41 years of working. Now, yeah, we worked. We had some jobs. Me and Laura both did before we got married. But you really go to work when you get married. Now, 32 years of that 41 years, we worked together. Self-employed. 32 years of being together 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 32 years. God is good. And all of this, I give God the glory. Because I truly have been blessed with a very good family. But in saying that, I think I'm qualified to give a little advice. And my qualifications, my credentials here are not much different than a lot of people that I see out here. So if you young people have got the question that I probably had on my mind, the comment that I would have made, what do you know about it? We know quite a bit about it. We know quite a bit about it. We will be speaking from experience. So I have taken two descriptive terms that I'm familiar with to title this lesson. From the old newspaper funnies, the ones that the lesson is for, I'm sure don't even remember this, but the rest of us will. The old newspaper funny, remember the little cartoon Family Circle that was always in the paper, and it was always some problem the kid had, hollering at the mom or hollering at the dad, you know. So the Family Circle, and then to help you younger ones out, from the Lion King, they played the Circle of Life, sang the song, The Circle of Life. So I would title this lesson, The Family Circle of Life. That's what we'll be talking about over the next 2 or 3 lessons. So if you will, we're not going to read it again, but turn to the reading this morning. And that was in Ecclesiastes 3. Ecclesiastes 3 and 1 through 11. I know sometimes it's hard to hear the reader of the material here, but this circle is all right here. In these 11 verses, the whole family circle of life is right here in a nutshell. And it's very, very important for each and every one of us. Now, I'm talking about all of us here, to go back and read this on occasion, because it's really quite interesting. So many lessons have been taught from this, good lessons. But I want you to notice verse 11. Verse 11, there is something that I want to point out to you. I'm going to read it again. He hath made everything beautiful in his time. Also he hath set the world in their heart, so that no man can find out the work that God maketh from the beginning to the end. Those are very interesting words that God's finishing up here. All of these things we just read, these are actually the seasons that we're talking about. Kind of strange that he put all this is beautiful in its time. But I think us as older ones, we can understand this. You see, no time of your life, no season of your life is made to be ugly. No. God didn't make it to be ugly. He didn't make it to be overwhelming or unbearable. That wasn't his intent. God has wisdom. His foolishness is greater than our wisest thing that we can ever say. No, God says it is all beautiful in its time. Now, in its time can mean something else. I think God could have meant 2 different things by in its time here. I think he actually means that when you are experiencing these things, these troubles, these good times, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Either you're learning, you're enjoying yourself, or he could have meant this. It's beautiful in its time. Yeah, Jake and Paige, it's hard to It's hard to think, boy, ain't this beautiful when you're up at 3 o'clock in the morning sitting by the bed and the baby won't go back to sleep. I know it's hard to think, boy, ain't this beautiful, God? But you get older and they're up and they're out of the house and you remember back and it's beautiful. It was wonderful. And that's what we experience. Isn't it crazy? That God knew from the beginning to the end, our family life circle, that every part of it in the end would be beautiful. We need to remember that. I didn't always remember that. I'll be honest with you. I didn't always remember that. There were several times I was ready to pinch Aaron's head off. But now it's beautiful. And you know what? The same problems that I have with Teddy that I had with Aaron, I handle them different. I'm not saying Teddy doesn't get old and need to go home at times. But I handle them different. You know, I say, me and Laura joke about this, you know, that Teddy is like taking medicine. You can have something wrong with you, bad feeling, down in the dumps. He can come over in a few minutes. It was just like taking a special pill. But after 3 or 4 hours, you start to overdose. You know, that's just life. That's the way life works. But it's beautiful in its own way. So I looked at Addie a while ago, the one that's here that's engaged. And there is no way that the things that we will talk about in this lesson are to scare you. They are warnings. There's some warnings in this, so all you young people, listen up. Because it might help you to avoid some things that would be even very devastating in your lives. So what I'm wanting to do is I want to hold your attention the best I can. If you miss some of it, and I'm talking to you young people, it is recorded, and go just the way that I want you to go back and read here in Ecclesiastes 3. Go back and listen to this lesson. If it gets loud or you can't hear or you miss something, and I know how it works, I've been right there. But a lot of this I am taking from the Bible. And some I'm taking from very experienced people. And it's very important that you hear it. You know, sadly, what we're going to be talking about is a biblical warning that comes from the Bible. And sadly, some families that fail not because they do not love each other. Now that may make you perk up a bit. Some families fail not because they do not love each other, but because they are surprised by the change of the seasons. Now that ought not be. We should be warned by our elders. We should be warned by the people that know. The Bible certainly warns us to be ready for these change of seasons. Now, if you're like me and we're using the word seasons, you think of 4, right? That's not true. That's not true with God. That's not what God is saying here. There's been many lessons given on this that will use 4 seasons. Okay? 4 seasons of the year. But this is not talking about just those 4. We are talking about each and every one of those things. This is what can happen to cause those families to fail. We expect, if we use one of the 4, we expect spring to last forever. Don't we? In our marriage, I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the 70-degree weather. But we expect spring to last forever. And in the spring of a relationship, I guess you could label some of the things that are going on as romance. Newness, handsome, and beauty, energy. We think those things are going to last forever, don't we? Well, wake up, it don't. Look at me. Handsome was always a struggle. But it sure ain't there no more. I can't even get a good haircut anymore. Energy. I ain't got the energy to think. And that's the truth. I can't think as good as I used to, much less do anything as good as I used to. And here's the catch, is that all the seasons we go through have winter in them. Now, I don't mean to confuse you there. But winter being the things that gives us problems, as winter does here, as the weather does. Every season we go through, I don't care if it's in the very beginning stage and the romance stage, the dating stage, you're going to experience a little bit of winter. And you learn from that. And we'll talk later about how you learn from that. So I want us to understand that a little bit of winter is found in each season. If you don't believe it, live in New Madrid. Live in southeast Missouri. All seasons require preparation. That's my responsibility to give it to you all, the young people. That's all of the older people here, is their responsibility to give it to you all. God knew that responsibility, so He gave it to us. Here's the problem. We don't learn it until we're older. Man, it could have saved a lot of time if I would have thought deeply and seriously about what these 11 verses were telling me. Okay, I had to learn the hard way, but I learned. Me and Laura learned. We're still here, 41 years, we're still here. We're still hanging on, but we got the scars to show it. And that's okay. But I sure would like to keep some of you all from going through the things that we went through. I want this lesson to show you, the young people, that the family foundation, the place that you start before you're even a family, is found in God. This is the foundation. I can't change that for you. I can't tell you to study your grandparents who were married for 120 years. There's your foundation. This is the foundation. You see, God has designed a foundation for each and every one of us that will not fail. It is right here. But here's some things that we consider wrongly as humans, okay? Here's your first avoidance. I think it's 4 things that I want to mention to you to help you see that this foundation is here for you. Seasons. All of these things that you read here, they're appointed. God appointed them. They're not accidental. God's not telling you this might happen. God's telling you this will happen. And if you look at each one of these things that are mentioned, they're pretty general. You can apply lots of different things to each and every one. And that's a godly writing that can do that. Look at the seasons there. They're actually in 7 verses, verses 2 through 8 in the reading. Sometimes we think that the seasons are 4, as I said, but they're not. Look what this says. Every one of them says a time, a time, a time, a time, a time, and on. In other words, a season, a season, a season. God is telling you these things are going to happen. So don't think there's just 4 seasons like there is here on earth. And really there's more seasons, I think, if you could break it down. You ever heard of blackberry winter? Yeah, we all have. We've heard of the blackberry winter, and I think that's where each season gets its winter comes on you. But what I want you to gather out of that first one is God appointed these things. God appointed these things. And God didn't even expect this to be an exhaustive list. Now, in the wisdom of God, it might can be, Because what he says, we can apply everything that happens, I think, to one of these things. But I'll put it this way. The first thing that comes to your mind when you read one of these things, don't let that be, you think that's the only thing that fits. Lots of problems fit. The next thing, number 2, none of the things we face in our marriage or in our families, none of the things surprise God. None of them do. They surprise us, but they don't surprise God. Of course, we bring some things, good and bad, on ourselves and our families. Many times we do that. But the consequences of those actions, good or bad, doesn't surprise God. God is right there with you. He knows everything from the beginning to the end. And that is amazing. From the preparation stage of dating to the stage of marriage and to death and beyond into eternity, God is the architect of that timeline. What a person to know. What a person to be able to talk to. You see, God is prepared and ready for all of them. Every situation, He's prepared and ready. Are you prepared and ready? That's the question. That's the question we're going to search as we go throughout these lessons. And this is just one kind of setting the groundwork, showing you where the foundation is. Are we prepared and ready? And then this is an important one, number 3. Every season is temporary. Now, folks, that's got to sink in. Every season is temporary. And this should be of great encouragement to us all. Everything we go through is temporary. How many times have we heard out here in the world, in some form of another, someone in a weepy state, and rightly so, say, my marriage is broken? We've heard that in one way or another, haven't we? My marriage is broken. I can't stay in it. Wrong. That's wrong. The Bible talks about right here, there's a time to build up. There's a time to build up. Broken can be fixed. Think about your vehicle. Does it break down? Have you ever had to take your vehicle to the shop? Ain't running anymore. We do, don't we? We take our vehicle to the shop and we get it fixed. Now, when we get that vehicle fixed, the next time we go over to a cousin's house or a brother's house or whatever it may be, we don't get out and say, well, I had to come in this broke vehicle. No, it's fixed. It's okay. It's running. It's no longer broke. And when we keep that vehicle for 6, 7 years, how long ever it may be, and it's been worked on several times, what do we say about it? We kind of rear back with pride and say, that's a good vehicle right there. It's still going. It's still running. We don't mean it's not ever been broke down. We don't mean it's not ever had to be fixed. It's withstood time. It's had 3 sets of tires. Johnny's got an old truck just like that. Looks good. It ain't that it's never been in the shop. It ain't that it's never had to have attention. It ain't that it's never had problems. It's a good old truck. And you know what? People admire it because it's still looking good and it's still running. And that's the way God looks at us. Hey, this is temporary. The problem you're going through is temporary. Your marriage may have a little trouble going on right now, but it can be fixed. Get to working on it. That's exactly what God expects us to do. Temporary things like conflict. Does family ever have conflict? You bet they do. It talks about right here, a time to throw stones. It's going to happen. It's a season, but it's temporary. Loneliness. Sometimes our families dwindle and we get lonely. Right here it says a time to weep. Times of sadness, but it's a season. It'll pass. God says it'll pass. Don't give up. The point of this is the family circle of life is like the weather, as I talked about here in southeast Missouri. If you don't like the weather in your family right now, just stick around. Because the weather will change, just like it does here. The season will change, and it'll get better, and you'll be stronger for it. But here's the goal. Here's what God is telling you, and I'm trying to tell you this morning, and anybody here with the wisdom to help you out is trying to tell you, is you need, in the beginning, an all-weather faith. Your faith has got to be prepared for all kinds of weather. We don't just serve God and our family when the family is happy. We must have a faith that works in the time to weep as well in the time to laugh. That's what it's got to be. Now, hopefully we have established our foundation this morning, and that foundation is in God. I wanted to have that lesson first before I had any opinions of what I would suggest or any other thing that the Bible teaches us. We have to know where the foundation is. We have to know that. And that God is the designer of the whole calendar of life. Now this is interesting too. You see, God is the same God, you young people. He is the same God that was there when you got your first kiss. That's not embarrassing, not meant to be embarrassing. He's the same God that was there watching you when you got your first kiss. And that kiss could be to your boyfriend or girlfriend, or it could be to your newborn baby. Same God. Same God, ready and prepared. It's us we have to worry about, and everything in between. You see, the storms of life come fast and furious. But with the anchor, right here in the Word of God, that stands forever, as Isaiah 40 and verse 8 says, we know that the starting place, the only all-weather foundation for our family, is God. And with that being known, we can proceed. Next time we will start with the season of seeking and dating. That ought to be a fun one. And we'll go on into choosing a spouse in that lesson, and possibly even into marriage, if time will allow. But this morning, you have the opportunity to get your foundation right today. If you're here this morning and you're into the process of dating, thinking about marriage, or just dating, you have to get your foundation right. Why would you start building without your foundation right? Get your foundation right, and that is done by hearing God's Word, believing it, repenting, confessing, and being baptized. And if that hasn't happened for you, that's not good. That's not a good thing. You're not following the family design foundation of God. But it happens. It happens. And if it's happened for you, it's not too late. I'm not saying that. You see, God says something and then He says it's never too late. Man, that's magnificent creation when that's the way it is. If you're here this morning and you're not a Christian, and maybe at times your family is shaky, tilting, or sinking, you ever have that feeling? You know what? God can raise that family up and put a new foundation right under them. It's never too late. Think about these things between now and the next lesson. Read this in Ecclesiastes a few times over, and I think you will find the next lessons even more interesting. If there's anything that we can do for you this morning, I promise you we will have some fun during these lessons. I hope you don't get embarrassed easy. Because we're going to talk about some of you people, some of you young people as we go through this, okay? And you know what we're going to do? We're going to name names. But just hold on. It's all in good fun. And it's all for a reason. If there's anything that we can do for you, let us know as we stand and as we sing.